If your engine has crossed 75,000 miles, the oil aisle is not selling you liquid reassurance. It is selling you labels, colors, and just enough technical jargon to make you think every bottle with high mileage on it is some kind of mechanical therapy. And that is exactly where people get fleeced every single day. Here is the thing. High mileage oil is supposed to do more than basic lubrication. The category exists because older engines fight a completely different war than newer ones. Seals shrink and harden over years of heat cycling. Clearances widen as metal wears. Deposits build on ringlands and valve seats. The oil you pour into a 150,000-mile engine needs to understand all of that before it ever touches the crankshaft. But here is where it gets truly interesting. Not every formula wearing that badge is equally serious about doing that job. Some lines give you multiple steps of genuine protection inside the same brand family, while others lean so hard on the label that you start wondering whether the bottle got more engineering than the fluid inside it. The high mileage shelf is one of the most aggressively marketed zones in any auto parts store. And that marketing budget is coming directly out of the trust you are placing in that bottle. And get this, I am not judging logos today, I am judging formulas, because if one brand has a weak entry-level high-mileage oil and a genuinely stronger premium version sitting 2 shelves over, your engine does not care about brand loyalty. It cares about chemistry. It cares about what is actually happening at the molecular level between your cam lobes and lifters at 200 degrees. So in this breakdown, we are starting with the 3 formulas I would stop buying first if your engine is already sweating around the seals, burning oil on the highway, or sounding like it has lived a very hard life. Then we move into 6 formulas, their own separate list, that make a much stronger case for actually helping old engines survive. Stick around until the end because the final formula is one you have almost certainly walked right past on the shelf every single time you walked into an auto parts store. The 3 to avoid. Brand 1 Pennzoil High Mileage. Pennzoil's problem is not that the company has no clue how to make oil. Shell-owned Pennzoil has some genuinely strong formulations in its catalog, and we are going to talk about 2 of them later in this video. The problem is that its basic high mileage formula lives in the shadow of its own better siblings, and most buyers never realize they are purchasing the weakest version of the brand's own technology. Major rankings of the category consistently place Pennzoil's base high mileage offering at the bottom of the family, even while acknowledging that the higher Pennzoil variants add more serious protection, more robust breakdown resistance, and a stronger additive package targeted specifically at older engine hardware. That is the company itself drawing a line between this bottle and the ones above it, and the base bottle is the one sitting at eye level on an end cap at the lowest price point. Translation: the bottle with the plain, high mileage name is the one most likely to disappoint you if you assume the badge alone means premium old engine care. When a lineup is built like a staircase, the bottom step is still the bottom step. And too many people buy the first Pennzoil bottle they see, assume they just purchased the full Pennzoil experience, and drive away feeling responsible. They are not. They were outsmarted by shelf placement. That is where the marketing trap starts. If your rear main seal is already damp and your valve cover is misting oil, the last thing you need is an entry-level formula wearing a rescue worker costume. That is not engineering. That is a band-aid on a bullet wound. Your engine is hemorrhaging credibility 1 quart at a time, and the base formula is not equipped to stop that conversation. Bottom line, I am not calling this oil junk. I am calling it the wrong place to stop shopping, because inside Pennzoil's own family, there are stronger high-mileage formulas that make the base bottle look like palliative care for buyers who never looked 1 shelf higher. The good news is that those better formulas cost only a few dollars more. The bad news is that nobody is going out of their way to tell you that. Brand 2. Quaker State High Mileage. Quaker State High Mileage lands here for a different reason than Pennzoil. The biggest red flag is not a dramatic public failure. It is not a recall, a viral forum thread, or a class action suit. The red flag is the lack of clear, publicly discussed, independently verified detail about what this formula is actually doing inside the bottle. Even widely referenced independent reviews of the high mileage oil category flat out note that there is not a lot of information publicly available about Quaker State's high mileage oil, even though the brand offers several variants, including a full synthetic and an all miles version. And that kind of opacity matters more than people realize, because once an engine is old enough to justify high mileage oil, you are no longer just buying the comfort of a household name from the 1980s. You are buying specific behavior under heat, under evaporation stress, and around hardened elastomer seals. You need to know whether the seal conditioners in that bottle are real swelling agents designed for aged rubber or just a trace amount added, so the label does not technically lie. If the public-facing case is vague, your confidence should be equally vague. The real kicker is that not much information is not the same as disaster. There is no mountain of consumer horror stories attached to Quaker State high mileage, but there is no mountain of documented seal conditioning evidence either. On a tired engine, uncertainty is expensive, your oil. Change interval is not the place to gamble on shelf familiarity and nostalgic packaging, while your rear main seal quietly decides whether today is the day it gives up entirely. So this formula lands in the avoid column for one simple reason. When better documented alternatives with clearer formulation language are right there on the same shelf, a foggy formula is a weak bet. In automotive terms, this is the guy who keeps telling you he has a plan but never opens the toolbox. Brand 3 SuperTech High Mileage. Now this one is going to annoy some budget loyalists, so let's be precise and let the data do the talking. Independent lab testing on a sample of SuperTech High Mileage Full Synthetic 0W20 found that it met its labeled viscosity grade and was consistent with its stated API service categories. The numbers came back as follows: NOAC volatility at 10.8%, phosphorus at 618 parts per million, zinc at 670 parts per million, and a total base number of 8.17. That sounds respectable because on paper it technically is. But here is the context that changes everything. A zinc level of 670 parts per million and a phosphorus level of 618 parts per million side at the lower end of what you want to see in an oil designed to protect an engine with worn cam lobes, tired lifters, and high-mileage metal-to-metal contact zones. Those ZDDP numbers are not catastrophic. They are just not aggressive enough to inspire confidence in a powertrain that has been fighting friction for 150,000 miles. Translation: if your engine is healthy and you are simply trying to keep operating costs low, this may be perfectly serviceable for your situation. But if you clicked a video with the words "Stop Leaks" and "Seal Wear" in the title, serviceable is not the finish line. Serviceable is the participation trophy. Your aging engine is not asking for minimum compliance. It is asking for a formula that showed up with extra tools. And get this, budget oil becomes expensive the second you expect it to perform emotional labor it was never formulated to do. This is not snake oil. It is almost worse than that. It is an oil that can pass every standard test and still leave your old engine asking where the actual high mileage magic went. Because it passed the test designed for the average engine, not the degraded engine sitting in your driveway right now. What oil are you running right now, and how many miles are on your engine? Drop both in the comments because this is exactly where the shelf label and the real-world result start drifting apart, and I want to see just how many of you are in the same situation. The 6 that actually work. Brand 1, Valvoline MaxLife. This is where the conversation changes completely. Valvoline MaxLife has spent years building its case around older engines, and the public-facing material is exactly what you want to see from. A high-mileage formula, premium seal conditioners specifically described as treating and preventing leaks, wear protection language tied directly to the realities of aged engine hardware, and a consistent track record across independent reviewers and real-world users who were not paid to say nice things. And unlike the vague middle-shelf stuff we just covered, the feedback pattern around MaxLife is consistent enough to be meaningful. Owners of engines deep into 6-figure mileage repeatedly report smoother operation, noticeably slower oil burning, and a visible reduction in active leaks after switching to this formula. That kind of repeated independent signal across different vehicles, different climates, and different engine families is not a coincidence. It is evidence that the formulation is doing what the label claims. Here is why that matters at the chemistry level. Older seals shrink and harden through years of heat cycling, and a quality high-mileage formula uses elastomer, conditioning agents, real swelling agents, to safely revitalize those seals without causing them to swell so aggressively that they blow out entirely. That is a precise engineering balance. MaxLife's consistent reputation suggests the formula is hitting that balance instead of faking it. Bottom line, this is one of the first bottles I would trust when an old engine starts sweating but is not yet mechanically cooked. It is the ICU drip your engine never knew it needed. Not the flashiest bottle on the shelf, not the loudest marketing campaign, just a formula that shows up with the right tools and actually does the job. Brand 2 Mobil 1 High Mileage. Mobil 1 High Mileage takes a different route to credibility, and it is one I respect enormously. Its specification language leans hard into modern standards and real, measurable protective claims. API SP certification, ILSA CGF6 compliance, LSPI protection, timing chain wear protection, and stated temperature tolerance up to 500 degrees Fahrenheit and down to -30 degrees Fahrenheit. Those are not soft marketing promises. Those are engineering parameters. That is the kind of detail that tells you the company expects technically literate buyers to inspect the bottle before they buy it. When a formula talks confidently about heat management, cold start flow behavior, and the specific failure points most likely to end a modern high-mileage engine, it is not pretending that older cars live in a laboratory. It is acknowledging that your 120,000-mile daily driver still drives in brutal July heat and freezing January mornings. Now, is Mobil 1 High Mileage the most emotionally satisfying bottle on this list? No. It feels less like a warm blanket and more like a disciplined bodyguard who never smiles. But for engines that need leak resistance, real wear control, and thermal stability without turning the crankcase into a sticky, viscous mess on a hot summer day, that is exactly the personality you want in your oil. The real kicker is that this formula represents the point where buyers stop thinking like coupon clippers and start thinking like damage control managers. A high-mileage engine does not need cheap reassurance. It needs clean chemistry, strong standards documentation, and the kind of full synthetic formula that does not fold under sustained high-temperature stress. Mobil 1 High Mileage makes that case clearly and without apology. Brand 3, Castrol GTX High Mileage. Castrol GTX High Mileage deserves its spot here because its product positioning is refreshingly direct and technically specific. Castrol describes it as a synthetic blend formula engineered for vehicles over 75,000 miles and highlights seal conditioners, superior sludge-fighting dispersancy, advanced anti-wear additives, and oil burn-off protection that is specifically stated to exceed industry standards. That exceeds language is important. It means they are not just meeting the bar, they built a higher bar and cleared it. That burn-off piece is more important than most buyers realize. On old engines, the leak you can see pooling on your garage floor is only half the story. The other half is consumption you cannot see clearly until you are checking the dipstick more frequently than you should be, finding it a quart low after fewer miles than last year. If a formula is explicitly built to fight volatility and burn-off in older engines, it is speaking the correct language for the problem you're actually trying to solve. And get this, Castrol's approach with GTX High Mileage feels less theatrical than some competitors in this space. It is not screaming that it will resurrect your engine from the mechanical dead. It is quietly and confidently telling you it will help slow the boring, expensive, relentless aging process that kills high-mileage engines 1 quart, 1 seal weep, and 1 heat cycle at a time. So yes, this one earns a strong position on the buy side of this list. It is not the loudest bottle in the aisle, it is the one doing grown-up work while the louder bottles are busy trying to become influencers. And on a tired engine, grown-up work is what you need. If this breakdown is already helping you separate real formulas from shelf theater, hit like and subscribe right now, because this is exactly the kind of costly mistake that keeps repeating every oil change interval until somebody finally teaches you to read past the front of the label. Brand 4, Pennzoil High Mileage Full Synthetic. Now we get to the part that proves exactly why formula-level thinking matters more than brand loyalty. Pennzoil's High Mileage Full Synthetic is not remotely the same argument as the base Pennzoil High Mileage bottle we covered in the Avoid section. This version adds improved resistance to oil breakdown in severe environments along with a real seal conditioner package, a completely different value proposition from the plain entry-level formula sitting 2 rows below it on the same shelf. Translation: this is where Pennzoil starts sounding like it actually remembers what high-mileage buyers are paying for. Severe environment resistance matters enormously when your engine has worn piston rings, increased blow-by, and a higher operating temperature baseline than it had 30,000 miles ago. Seal conditioners matter when your valve cover gaskets have been baking for a decade. Older engines do not need a generic synthetic wearing a yellow badge. They need a formula that looks at heat, consumption, and aging elastomers as real engineering problems with real chemical solutions. This is also why I separated Pennzoil's base formula into the Avoid section without condemning the entire brand. The weakness was never the Pennzoil name. It was the cheapest step in a ladder that improves significantly as you climb. Pennzoil High Mileage. Full synthetic is the point where that ladder starts genuinely earning the money you are spending on it. Bottom line, if you have been a loyal Pennzoil customer your entire life and you are not walking away from that, I understand. But skip the bargain rung. Go here instead. This is the first Pennzoil bottle in the high mileage lineup that sounds and behaves like it was designed for an old engine rather than simply marketed to one. Brand 5, Pennzoil Platinum High Mileage. Pennzoil Platinum High Mileage is where the full redemption arc becomes complete, and it is one of the most dramatic within-brand transformations in this entire category. This top variant increases wear protection measurably, improves performance across both extreme heat and extreme cold, and adds extra detergents to keep pistons and ringlands clean through the kind of deposit buildup that only happens in engines with serious mileage under their belts. All of that sits on top of Pennzoil's active cleansing agents technology, which is the company's strongest detergent and dispersant formulation. Here is the thing about old engines. They usually do not die from one catastrophic moment you can point to afterward and explain clearly. They die from accumulation, invisible accumulation, varnish slowly restricting oil passages, carbon deposits gradually reducing ring seal, hardened valve stem seals weeping just enough oil to foul a plug every few months, marginal viscosity stability under sustained load in July. A formula that attacks those issues more aggressively than the minimum spec bottle sitting 2 shelves below it is not a luxury purchase. It is a delay tactic against entropy, and on a high-mileage engine, delaying entropy is the entire game. The real kicker is watching exactly how far this bottle sits from the base Pennzoil high mileage on every measurable axis. Better wear protection chemistry, better thermal behavior at high temperatures, better detergent strength for dirty pistons. That is the kind of progression that justifies a premium price when your engine has already spent years accumulating heat cycles and operational stress like a mechanical resume. So this one belongs near the top of any serious high-mileage recommendation list. If the base Pennzoil bottle was the disappointing intern who technically showed up for work, Platinum High Mileage is the senior engineer who actually solves the problem. Same family name on the paycheck, completely different level of daily performance. Brand 6 Valvoline 150,000 plus. For the final spot, I specifically wanted the formula that feels the least confused about its mission. Not the flashiest, not the loudest, the most honest. Valvoline's 150,000 plus formula is explicitly positioned for engines that have already crossed 150,000 miles and is built around targeting friction reduction, deposit removal, and sludge control in aging powertrains that have seen serious operational history. No pretense, no general audience hedging, no broad appeal language designed to also sell itself to someone driving a 2-year-old crossover. Just a formula that knows precisely who it is talking to and what that engine needs. That specificity matters more than most buyers appreciate, because once an engine is past 150,000 miles, you are not maintaining a fresh powertrain with predictable tolerances and new rubber seals. You are managing a mechanical biography. The fluid going into that crankcase needs to assume wear history, heat history, deposit history, and seal history all at once. It cannot afford to be a generalist. Valvoline's 150,000 plus does not pretend otherwise, and that honesty is itself a form of engineering credibility. And that is exactly why this bottle earns the final spot in this breakdown. Some high-mileage oils talk like they were created by someone in a marketing conference room with a whiteboard and no grease under their fingernails. This one sounds like it was created by somebody who has actually pulled a valve cover on a 200,000-mile engine, looked at what time and heat do to aging hardware, and asked what chemistry could realistically help. The real kicker is that this is the bottle for people who have already crossed out hope as a maintenance strategy. You are not buying into optimism. You are not buying a dream of turning back the clock on your powertrain. You are buying triage. You are buying a disciplined, purpose-built formula that understands its job is damage mitigation in an engine that has earned every one of those miles. And in that role, Valvoline 150,000 plus makes one of the clearest, most credible, and most honest cases in the entire high-mileage category. So what is the real lesson buried in all of this? Stop buying the logo. Stop buying the color of the bottle. Stop buying the comfortable fantasy that every single formula wearing a high mileage label is some kind of specialized potion engineered, specifically for your tired old engine. The category is supposed to include extra seal conditioners, stronger detergents, and viscosity stabilizers designed for aged hardware. But the shelf proves very quickly that some formulas are dramatically more committed to that mission than others, and the price difference between committed and barely there is often just a few dollars per quart. Here is the thing that oil companies and parts counter employees will almost never tell you. A weak high-mileage formula can still pass every API certification, still meet every industry standard, and still be the completely wrong choice for your specific engine situation. That is why Supertech landed in the avoid section without being labeled counterfeit. That is why the base Pennzoil high-mileage bottle landed in the avoid section, while its stronger full synthetic and platinum siblings climbed into the recommended group. The problem was never the brand name on the front. The problem was the shelf, level where most buyers stop looking, because nobody told them the ladder went higher. If your engine is leaking, burning, rattling, or just quietly consuming more oil than it did 2 years ago, You need to buy the formula that is most clearly built for seal conditioning, wear protection, thermal stability, and real detergent strength for aged internals. Based on the evidence, Valvoline MaxLife, Mobil 1 High Mileage, Castrol GTX High Mileage, Pennzoil High Mileage Full Synthetic, Pennzoil Platinum High Mileage, and Valvoline 150,000 Plus are the 6 formulas that make the strongest and most credible case for actually doing that job. Bottom line, do not let an old engine guilt you into cheapness. One wrong bottle every few thousand miles can quietly transform a manageable seep into a full-time oil consumption problem, and a full-time oil consumption problem into a catastrophic failure you did not see coming. Hit subscribe if you want the unfiltered, data-driven truth that can save you from that costly mistake before your engine decides to make the decision for you.